Do you still have audio? Test, 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 test. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, Chad. I don't know exactly what happened there. I'm trying to just go and confirm that everything looks okay on my end before I just continue playing, and it looks like I am indeed up again. All right. So my opponent played Forest and passed. Nothing too exciting going on their turn over there. They are not going and just like fetching a mana dork, maybe playing around my Pontiff. So I know they have the Zealous Persecution, but they can't necessarily make use of that. And I think I want to make it so the Zealous Persecution is just like as bad as possible. So Eddie, you have the same line of thought that I do here. So I'm going to play Imperial Recruiter. And that will get me a Thalia's Lieutenant. And then next turn, if I can draw a land, I can go like Hierarch, Mom, Thalia's Lieutenant, grow the entire team, and then not have to worry about Zealous Persecution for the rest of the game. Hunter Christ, if you were going to play something like this tomorrow, I do think the deck is pretty well positioned. I'd take a look at Yosoi Easy's recent deck list. I don't remember if it was a challenge or a 5-0 deck list, but I rather liked what he was messing around with. I kind of like made a couple of changes from the initial donation deck list that I got, sort of in respect of the decisions that he made. So I know I said I was gonna Thalia's Lieutenant this turn, but this is hot. Normally we try to get more than just like a 1-for-1 with Orzhov Pontiff, but given the situation, this is stellar. Dealing damage, we're 1-1 right now, probably about to be 2-1. We're very favored right now playing against Maverick. Green Sun for 2, probably not going to be stellar. It's just probably going to be something like a Scavenging Ooze. Nope, just another Hierarch friend. That's fine. That will let them cast Zealous Persecution. However, that's not going to be quite as good as they want it to be. I wish I had one more land so that I could go, like, play 2 creatures into Thalia's Lieutenant, but this is fine. So opponent has a Zealous Persecution that they could use to answer my Thalia's Lieutenant. But it's not exactly ideal. So we played against Blue-Red Delver and lost, and then we bullied Miracles. Jitte is very good, but my opponent might just die this turn. Especially now. Holy cow. Alright, so what happens if I swing with all of these? My opponent concedes before I can do so. That's about what I thought. Thalia's Lieutenant. Not always the greatest card in the deck, but very powerful when it works. Alright, folks, I'm going to take 30 seconds and refill my water. I will be right back. Alright, we had a question from chat there. So, how do you feel against Miracles with D&T? It seems like every match I play against them is a 2-0 for one of us. Yeah, that's fair. So, against Miracles, our best starts are very hard for them to beat. So, I don't know if you watched, like, the exhibition matches that I did versus Anurag, but those games that I just, like, led on, like, Vial into Chalice were just, like, an absolute beating. Similarly, though, the games where D&T just like plays a regular game and Miracles gets to do its thing, they're often a landslide in Miracles' directions. So I'm not surprised that you have that impression. I do think that it is a relatively even matchup. Oh, great, we're playing against Mats, who is probably playing Loam. I don't get to do anything to really leverage the fact that I'm on the play with this one. So this one's going to be a mulligan. This is okay. I'm not going to go to 5. I'm going to keep this. But I'm not thrilled with this one. I think I'm going to bottom this. I think this would be like a fine card to like play on turn 1. But like I'm probably going to like curve like Mom into Thalia's Lieutenant, and I don't see this card being important to my current game plan. So I'm going to send that to the bottom. Kind of hoping that Mats doesn't wasteland me, because I can't really beat that. Alright. We did put that on the bottom. We just got another one. Looks like Mats is playing something spicy. Maybe some white Eldrazi of some nature. Meaning that a lot of the cards in my hand are way worse. Like Thalia, probably not great. Like there's probably opposing Caracases in that deck. But I still think it's my play. I don't want to play this out too early. I'm hoping that he doesn't have flyers so that like my mom can actually hold off that Jitte from actually mattering. Ah. This is the timeline we're in, huh? Okay. Cats confirmed. Alright, so I know I specifically talked about Wasteland, but Ghost Quarter plus Arbiter is Wasteland. My god, we didn't get Wastelanded. That's the good news. The bad news is that that means my opponent has Aven Mind Sensor, and I'm about to get wrecked by Jitte. So if my opponent actually has the Mind Sensor, there's a world where I actually should also attack with the Mother of Runes to just, like, try to aggro my opponent out. But that can enable some really bad things to happen to me if my opponent just has, like, Swords to Plowshares as well. So I'm not going to do that, and I'm just going to attack with these two. Dealing damage. This game is not going long enough where Aether Vial matters in one direction or the other. This is an aggro game. My Thalia's Lieutenant lived, which was nice. But I can't really do anything about that. So now is this the turn where I have to turn the mom sideways because it's just likely to die anyway? Probably. I guess this turn's really awkward because of the Jitte. So my opponent, like, for example, can double shrink Thalia's Lieutenant, like my bigger Thalia's Lieutenant, and then just block. So I guess the only truly profitable attack I have is with Thalia. And that's very unfortunate. Or is that actually true, and I just need to, like, turn everything sideways, let them block my bigger Thalia's Lieutenant, kill my smaller Thalia's Lieutenant, hit them for 7, and then hope that I can take the game over from there? I don't really know how I'm supposed to win. Maybe I shouldn't have played around Swords to Plowshares last turn and attacked in with a Mom, because then I could be presenting lethal. Let's make my opponent play well here. I know they're a great player, and they probably will. Alright, I have my own Thalia here. You're getting a lot of lag now. Let me see if Streamlabs has any of that data available for me. Oh, geez, Containment Priest is in here too. So one of the things I really don't like about Streamlabs OBS is that I can't actually see some of the data that I see with OBS. So I can't actually like see my statistics about what my like, oh, here they are. I'm only at 0.4% dropped frames. So I'm maybe not too bad off. All right, now I've missed too many land drops and we're done here. So we lost that one to a quick jitte. So conceptually, this is going to be like very, very similar to a D&T match where we'll kind of like board the same sort of things that we would against them. And the same sort of things are going to be bad, right? So like Thalia, obviously not great. Sanctum Prelate, not all that great. And then from there, we'll just kind of like trim a little bit. Yeah, so in the initial turn that I could have attacked with the Mom, I probably should have attacked with the Mom. So when I was just like thinking about my opponent's jitte use, I thought they were just going to almost immediately use one jitte counter in order to get rid of the Thalia's Lieutenant in order to like prevent the possibility of growing it. But if I miss my land drop, then that doesn't actually factor in, and so I didn't do the combat math for what if I missed the land drop. Yeah, so we could not block and then just like protect whatever my opponent, or we could not attack with the Mom on the second turn and then like go and protect whatever my opponent blocks. But I don't know that that necessarily gets me anywhere in terms of like winning the game. Like the jitte counters are still super problematic. My opponent can still like take out Mom or take out like the Lieutenant and gain a bunch of life. So I still think we're on the wrong side of the equation there. Long term. I don't know if just like holding the Mom back plays to win. Cause like it's the flying is the biggest issue currently, and like Mom doesn't muck with that at all. Okay, then I need to make 2 more cuts. Sorry, just like going back to sideboarding because I've got 20 seconds left. I can like trim a champion, I can trim Meddling Mage or Freebooter. Yeah, so the creature there was Aven Mind Sensor was the thing that flashed in. 2/1 flying flash with a similar effect to Leonin Arbiter. Yep, I'll keep this one. So that I can play multiple creatures next turn, I'm going to lead on Noble Hierarch. Because that can let me, like, Manic Vandal next turn if my opponent is playing Aether Vial. I don't remember if they are or not, or if, like, I can snipe a Mox with it or something. Oh, that's insane. Otherwise, I can just, like, Champion and Thalia's Lieutenant. Yeah. Welcome to the college internet life. A ratchet bomb, you say? It would be a shame if someone blew up the ever-loving shit out of that. Who would do that? Clearly some monster. I would do that. So Manic Vandal coming down. Destroy the Ratchet Bomb. Grow the champion. Put another counter on our champion of the parish. And then we get to attack in with Exalted, which will hit for 5. Alright, Eldrazi Displacer comes down on the other side of the battlefield, and I drew Palace Jailer for it, like the skilled magician that I am. Yeah, making 2/2s rather than, like, increasing the size of the champion more is totally reasonable as well. My opponent responds with a Palace Jailer of their own, which is interesting. So I have 3 creatures, so I can attack in and 100% get the Monarch back, which will get me my champion back. And then I can, like, play some creatures out to increase their size. The other cool thing about this is, like, I have Izzet Staticaster, so they're probably going to, like, get to make a block that is favorable for them, and then I will ruin it. So I get the choice of whether I want to kill their Displacer or kill their Jailer. I'm going to kill their Displacer. I don't know if you've been on the wrong side of that card before, but it's really stupid. So now I am the Monarch. I have a 3/3 to my opponent's 2/2. Things are favoring me. And we'll go to a game 3. I know my opponent has Ratchet Bomb now, but I don't think that's going to change anything about how I'm sideboarding. So I'll wax submit. My opponent kept their 7-card hand. I have 2 Moms and a Champion, as well as 2 Rainbow Lands in my hand. That means that this is going to be a keep. This hand's fine. Not insane, just fine. But hopefully Double Mom goes a very long way towards doing disgusting things. And my opponent has turn 1 Jitte again. Life's bad. So now I have to do something that sucks. And I have to do it. I have to play out a Mother of Runes here, rather than my Aether Vial. I want to play the Aether Vial. But if my opponent plays a creature next turn, I need to have an active Mother of Runes so my opponent can't get Jitte counters. So I have to make this play. This is not what I want to be doing, but it's what has to occur here in order for me to just, like, not immediately lose the game to this Jitte. So now I can play the Vial out. Ratchet Bomb on 1 is stupid against my hand. That is devastating. It hadn't really occurred to me how good that card is against humans until just like being on the wrong side of it. You know, between my board and hand, I have 5 1-drops right now, and it was my plan to just vomit them everywhere. So I guess that means I'm just playing Athalia's Lieutenant as a 1/1, and then bashing for 2 with Mom. This does not feel good. But I need to get a little something out of this Mom right now. All right. So there goes my 1-drops. Super glad that my opponent doesn't have a follow-up creature, by the way. I'd be relatively dead to it. So now I get to play out another Mom, which is great. Again, playing out Mom before Champion here because I need to respect my opponent getting Jitte counters. I need to be a little worried about them having Eldrazi Displacer, which is colorless. Oh, interesting. The Swords to Plowshares just went on my Thalia's Lieutenant rather than my Mom. I really hope that means they don't have another Ratchet Bomb. Alright, so I'm going to play Double Champion this turn. And I'm going to turn the Mom sideways. My opponent's choked on mana. And I think I need to aggro my opponent out. I think every point of damage is going to be relevant this game. Alright, yeah, there's the Eldrazi Displacer. Mom's not so great against that. Ooh, the land is perfect. So land means I can Reflector Mage the Eldrazi Displacer and buy a whole bunch of time. Yeah, I am worried about both Eldrazi Displacer and Aven Mind Sensor. Ancient Tomb in the deck list. I'm not surprised. That will help with my opponent being choked on mana a bit. We'll see what they can do with their mana here, though. As things stand, excuse me. Oh, Fiend Hunter punishes me for tapping that Mom for an attack. So I can play out Mom, go white, blue for Meddling Mage. We can put that on the Eldrazi Displacer. That's going to buy us another turn. Pump the Champion of the Parish to a 4/4. And then get to swing in with it. Put my opponent to 5. And then hope that's good enough. So, all right, what can my opponent have that beats me? if I just give my champion protection from white and attack in with it and play a creature, then it alone is lethal. I can also just like Orzhov Pontiff, pump the entire team and swing in with everything. I'm just like trying to figure out like what can beat me. My opponent didn't port me, so presumably that means they have something to do with the mana. Double Plow, I guess, is an annoyance. All right, let's target champion. Let's see if we can give that pro white. All right, we can. So now I don't really think I can lose. My opponent could like Warping Whale something in. All right, as is, I just have lethal on board, and they concede, and we go ahead and move up to, what are we now, 3-1? Yeah, we are 3-1. He was with a pretty good showing tonight. We kind of got stomped by the blue-red Delver with their sweet salamander drakes. But otherwise, we've taken down everything else tonight. Dealing damage is kind of complicated. So I think that the two decks require some different skills. So, for example, I think Humans requires a greater ability to do combat math than D&T does. And I think D&T requires slightly greater long-term planning and better sequencing. So, like, in Humans, you get into the red zone more. Like, you need to make more aggro decisions involving, like, Champion of the Parish and Thalia's Lieutenant in particular. And, like, oftentimes, like, using Orzhov Pontiff as, like, an aggro card as well, rather than just, like, a control card like most decks are normally using it as. So, like, that requires a different skill set. So, I think the two decks both require a decent amount of skill, but I think they're different skills. I'm going to keep this as a very good hand. Like, we have Champion, we have Noble, we have, like, 3 lands, and, like, Reflector Mage and Pontiff. If my opponent is playing Depths, like I suspect they are, this is a great hand versus that deck. So I'm going to think about my opening hand for a second here. Because, like, I'm probably not going to Reflector Mage or Pontiff on turn 2. So that might mean I don't need 3 mana on turn 2 with the cards that I currently have in hand, meaning that it's better to lead on Champion of the Parish, so that I can do something of like turn 2, like play Noble Hierarch, Wasteland, like literally whatever land you play, and then crash in with Champion of the Parish at a 3/3. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And damage, dealing damage. This is another good example of like kind of like the different sort of thinking that like Humans involves, because like sometimes it's just like very clear like what you are supposed to like lead on in sequence, but in this deck like there are strengths and weaknesses of leading on like Aether Vial versus Hierarch versus Champion, and you kind of have to like decide the texture of your hand when making those decisions. Okay, so another decision point. I can just Wasteland the Urborg. which would like 100% make it so that I can't get just like got by Vampire Hexmage into Dark Depths. But honestly, I'm kind of fine with just sitting on the Wasteland for a little while and sniping a more valuable land than Urborg. If I play Unclaimed Territory and Meddling Mage on Vampire Hexmage, then I can't just like lose to Dark Depths next turn anyway. Yeah, dealing damage. I think this deck is very real. I've played this multiple times on stream. I think it does have a high skill ceiling. But if you've played the modern version of this already, you probably have a lot of the skills that you'll need in order to succeed. Now, like, obviously the decks are different, but a lot of your little tricks, like involving like Aether Vial and Thalia's Lieutenant timing and things like that, you're already going to have that knowledge. So this is sort of an interesting turn. So my opponent hasn't wastelanded me yet. And if I play out my wasteland and use it, it means they can wasteland my wasteland, which is a slight annoyance. That being said, putting Sanctum Prelate on 1 is going to shut off discard, it's going to shut off crop rotation, it's going to shut off like expedition maps if they're playing that. So I think just like jamming the Prelate on 1 is probably great. Yeah, D&T is not a great like intro level legacy deck because like a lot of the strength of D&T comes from like knowing the matchup and knowing what you need to do and how to sequence your cards and all that stuff. Humans is a little more forgiving in my mind because like you have more interactive pieces, so you can get some of that that knowledge from your opponents. You know, you don't know what they're playing, Kitesail Freebooter, look at their hand. Aha, I have solved the puzzle. So this is a hand where like we're just getting to aggro them out before they can really do anything. And this is one thing I really like about humans is that when you play against these combo decks, you don't give them time. Like with D&T, like you're a lot of times like pecking with 2/2s. With this deck, between like Champion of the Parish and Thalia's Lieutenants, your bears get big. All right. So what do I like for sideboard stuff? Pontiffs are fine. They can take like Hex Mages and Bobs off the table. I don't know that Is It Staticaster will be good enough, but I'll consider it. Cabal seems fine. Deputy of Detentions is probably actively good. You know, every card that can answer Merit Lodge is probably going to come in. Recruiter seems fine. Prelate seems good. Don't really think we're a surgical deck here. Like, we can, like, go for, like, Wasteland Surgical, but that seems kind of deep. I don't know that we need to go that far. Yeah, Sylvan Safekeeper is another good one. I'm not exactly sure what I want to board out, because I feel like my cards are good. This has been a problem. When all your cards are good, what do you cut? Sure. When you draw, like, your 4 of plus your 2 of, awesome. But, like, when you draw the Surgical on its own and you, like, don't have the Wasteland, the card's dead. And I don't think that's right. Alright, sure. Cutting some mom is fine. Maybe, like, boarding a second pontiff is too much. I can agree with that. I often trim a lieutenant in these sorts of matchups. Just because, like, you have to make cuts somewhere. And it honestly might be a second lieutenant. It's either second lieutenant or I don't play Cabal. And I don't know which one of those is better. Oh, I'm at 61, so maybe the answer is don't play Cabal. Wow, stellar hand here. So I have Caracas to bounce a Merit Lodge, double Wasteland to take out initial lands, plus otherwise a curve of like Mom into Thalia. So super happy with everything that I'm seeing here. Of note, Mom plus Kitesail Freebooter can mean that like Merit Lodge just doesn't get through. Oh wow, opponent offers their Sylvan Safekeeper trade for my Mother of Runes. This is very surprising to me. Does that just mean they have another Sylvan Safekeeper? I don't understand. Wow, Nerf Blaster. Thank you for your continued support. 11 months now, bordering on a year. Thank you. I'm going to take this trade. Bob. Okay. I mean, Bob's a little annoying, but fine. You know, it's the sort of card that I'm very much prepared to beat. I have those Pontiffs that I can potentially tutor up later on. We're just going to get Disruptive, though. Playing out a Thalia will mitigate some of the power of the Bob. All right, they have Toxic Deluge in their hand now. That's very good to know about. So the awkward thing about, like, whatever I play here is that it can either get swept up by Toxic Deluge or in some other capacity be awkward. So I can put Sanctum Prelate on 3 and stop that Deluge from ever hitting play. But that's all it would be doing. I can just, like, play out Wasteland and pass, and then if my opponent tries to copy, like, Forest with Thespian Stage, I can just, like, Wasteland that. But I don't really care if they turn their Thespian Stage into a Forest, because I'm going to have the Caracas around for later on. I would love to Deputy of Detention away the Bob, but if I do that, then, like, Toxic Deluge gives them their Bob back. The first step that's happening no matter what is the Thalia. It gets trickier from there. I don't really want to double Wasteland them, though. Like, I can Wasteland the Urborg, play my other Wasteland, Wasteland the Urborg, and then like go to my end step then and Wasteland the stage. But like Bob will just dig them back to lands. And so I don't think that super favors me in the long run. So I think the way I'm going to win this is by aggro, and I'm going to use the Bob to help me. So we'll do the somewhat anemic play of Sanctum Prelate on 3. Not thrilled about it, but it's what I'm doing. We would love to see, like, crop rotation into Merit Lodge, like, produce Merit Lodge and pass, so that I can, like, wreck that with Caracas. Alright, they're just copying a Wasteland. That's fine. Now there's a Sylvan Safekeeper on the other side of the battlefield. Slightly annoying, but not the end of the world. Alright, so they Inquisition, they get to see what's going on over here. Reflector Mage is sort of an interesting draw. So I can, like, Reflector Mage the Vampire Hex Mage. Crash in with both my creatures. Wasteland their Wasteland so that they can't disrupt me. But I don't know that I like that. Because I could just, like, Wasteland both stage and Wasteland. Like, I can double Wasteland and play Thalia's Lieutenant, giving me, like, 2 3/3s, and putting their life total under a good amount of duress. And if I Wasteland both of those, they take 6. Then I can, like, potentially have lethal next turn with, like, Reflector Mage. Probably not, but there's a world where that's true. I'm gonna go for the double Wasteland play. It's a little aggressive, but I think it's fine. So I can lose the Thalia to their Hex Mage here, but that would be a trade that I'm okay making given the board. All right, my opponent just takes it all. They reveal a Wasteland. Slight inconvenience for me. Okay. Somewhat surprised I didn't get wastelanded, but I guess their plan just involves comboing me off, and so if they get the opportunity to wasteland the Caracas, they'd just take it in a heartbeat. We'll bounce the Vampire Hexmage here. My opponent could sacrifice a land with Sylvan Safekeeper in order to keep it on the battlefield. I don't know that's worthwhile, though. They think it's worthwhile. All right, so they're going to keep their Hexmage around. Okay, so now I have to kind of like figure out like how good my opponent is when I make my attacks this turn. They can potentially like trade the Vampire Hexmage for Sanctum Prelate by like blocking first strike, removing counters. But they can't also remove Thalia as well, so I don't really need to worry about just eating it to like, Toxic Deluge. So I think I'm fine with like attacking with Prelate. I'm fine with attacking in with Thalia. I don't think I'll attack in with Thalia's Lieutenant. That doesn't make sense as an attack. So just these two is fine. I don't really think my opponent can trade the Hexmage for either one of these two creatures. Because, like, really the only world where I see them winning involves them, like, naturally drawing or flipping Dark Depths. So maybe I should have attacked with the Lieutenant as well. No, maybe that doesn't make sense. All right. So this is interesting. So I guess they're playing towards draw Black Source to Toxic Deluge for 3, clear the board. Interesting. That's a good line from them. I really like that. Fortunately, I drew really hot there. All right. So what am I getting with this? What is like the most disruptive thing that I can do? Sanctum Prelate's good. Thalia's good. Something that can bounce a Merit Lodge is probably fine. I think I'm just going to get Thalia. It's probably the most disruptive if my opponent has to play multiple spells, and it's something I can play while also holding up Caracas. Noble Hierarch, a pretty good draw there. My opponent might have taken one from Imperial Recruiter, but they can't really afford to take two. We're not presenting lethal next turn, but we are presenting like a very good clock. Wow, okay. All right, my opponent concedes there, and we get the 4-1. Okay, so deck list feels good. I think there's some questions to be asked about it. And I don't mean like there are deck building mistakes here, but I think there are alternate things to consider. So I think like the biggest thing to consider is whether or not these cards are going to be better than Knight of Autumn. I think Knight of Autumn is a very powerful card that can fit into this shell. I think it's very good here. And I think kind of like the question you need to ask is like, how many cards in the sideboard do you want to dedicate to those sorts of effects? And are you willing for them to be non-humans? I don't think it's a clear-cut, like, one of these is right, one of these is wrong sort of thing. I've really enjoyed playing with Knight of Autumn. I've tried it in this deck, in Maverick. I think I played it in a Splash D&T stream, in a handful of other places in Loam. I'm very, very fond of that card. I do like all of the cards that are here. I do not regret having them in my sideboard in any capacity. I just don't have enough reps with this deck to like have a mental sideboard map done or have written one out to know what's correct. I don't have that feel. I really liked the main deck. So I talked over with the person who did this donation for me, and like we made a couple of changes. There was originally some spice in here. He originally submitted the deck list with a rain in it, Rayne, not like drizzle, which says roughly whenever one of your creatures is targeted, you get to draw a card. So his thought was like that would let you grind through control matchups. But I just suggested putting another recruiter in the sideboard, which is something I've really liked in this deck more generally. We already talked about this. I'm not 100% sure on this Plains. Like, maybe this is supposed to be something like another Horizon Canopy. Not 100% sure there. But the one of Plains probably doesn't do a lot towards like actually letting you play around like a Blood Moon effect. Like, it's there like at that point more for something like Path to Exile than anything else. 100% would love to play humans again. I think the deck is very good. It has some legs. It puts up some results here and there to the surprise of no one. You know, it's a dominating force in Modern. No surprise that with a few better cards, it can have a home in Legacy too. So thank you very much for this donation. I really enjoyed this this deck list. Okay, so coming up on stream on Wednesday, I've received a donation for Death and Taxes, so we'll have some D&T content on Wednesday, and then my next stream will be probably the Electro Dominance stream that Whiteface has donated for. So I don't know exactly what that deck list is going to look like, but that one will be a hoot when it happens. I am going to Greensboro this weekend to go and sort of play around with some Japanese rhythm games, among other things. So there will not be the usual Saturday stream. I will potentially do a Sunday stream, or try to make up for it, do like a YouTube video or another stream on Thursday or something like that. I haven't exactly decided what I want to do yet about that. I'll let you know on Twitter when I do. All right, who do we have to host tonight? Who else is playing some Legacy? Bosch and Roll, Legacy with the Vintage Champ. Oh. That sounds good. Let's do that. Any idea how you'll run this flex space as I mentioned? Yeah, so let me, I think I have that deck list already in my folder, so I can just upload it real quick and point to things. It says freeform, so there might be an issue with how I upload it. All right, it looks like I just forgot a card. Yeah, so I think I decided to like put the Hollowed Spirit Keeper main deck that you mentioned and move the Ballista to the sideboard, and then I'll figure out what card I was missing. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up here tonight. Thank you all for joining me. If you're enjoying my content, please consider doing something to support my channel, whether that's just following me, subscribing, or even doing something like a donation deck list. We are 2 of the 3 deck lists towards my my guest stream where we do some exhibition matches of D&T versus Grixis Phoenix with Calum. So if that's something you want to see, consider donating. I'm going to turn you over to some more legacy content, folks, and good night.